Good evening, everybody. It is now 11:10 p.m. Today, the 11th of July, 2022. Canada, across the whole country right now, is experiencing an internet blackout coming from what are speculating as a hacking of sorts and a siege. Rumors are going around it's possible as retaliation, either from, guess it, maybe China, maybe Russia, maybe Ukraine. Nobody really knows right now. So I'm going to be starting up this special episode. We're going to cover a few things that I didn't get a chance to actually complete on the last blog. I like to do a little history on Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and the powers that be. It is now 11:11 p.m. You know the drill, folks. On the date, make your wish. Make your prayer right now. It's 11:11 p.m. Today is the 11th of July, 2022. This is the date. Out there. Not sure how long it's gonna hold. This warning lights everywhere. Abort! Abort! Come on, come on. Look out. It's out of control. Are you okay? So, welcome to the date. This is You Rocks. So, let's continue with this show here because tonight's episode pretty much is going to cover the madness of the last few days. Uh, Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. The date. Once again, this is for the more mundane, more humdrum discussion as to what's going on in this world when it comes to melanated matters, black matters, Israelite matters, Nazarene matters, all kinds of matters, anything African matters. We see a lot going on in the social media, especially when it comes to the people. Unfortunately, a lot of us are just too damn chicken to do anything about it. Like I've been saying, we've lost at least that edge of fight. The folks, the men, the children who had lived through the Second World War, as most recent, and even then, who are living through wars right now, whether it be in Somalia, which no coverage is being held, right? We don't even hear much about Ukraine anymore. So imagine that. So here we are, and we're like, well, it's another day. But before I go on, I'm just going to introduce you to the page. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'm not in this for, let's say, yeah, initially the money, right? Everyone wants to make a buck online. Now, I've been part of this whole, uh, how we say, media communications, propaganda fiasco industry in education and work for over 35 years. So, once again, I could probably give you some gold nuggets. I won't say I know everything, and I won't say I'm a doctor and all of this. I'm just putting out my own points of view, but only by the experience of existing for, let's say, over half a century. And that matters and that means something because there's a very big disparity in generations, right? And there's a big disconnect. We had the boomers, then we have our Gen X, which is I'm part of, and then you had your Gen Y Z, right? And that, if anything, now we have the what do we call them? Generation Zero now, I guess, right? Because We already hit, and the Z's literally are about maybe even 15 now, right? But I'm just once again talking off the cusp here, right? But I would like to overflow and give you some of the nuggets of truth that we can pick from, let's say, half a century of seeing things happen in this world. So, yeah, I'm not, I mean, yeah, it's a bit rambly. I do create these blogs to be lengthy because I'm thinking about what I'm saying, and it's not rehearsed. Um, because there's nothing to really rehearse, right? If you remember, even with radio back in the day, the old transistor. Well, I'll get into that in a minute once we get into the whole Rogers thing here. But the transistor radio. People are, what's a transistor? Like, yeah, transistor radio is what we had. Even before television per se, right? The radio was the first methods of communication. So here we are in a society with all the hi-fi tech and the advance of technology. It's nothing like what we thought the Jetson was supposed to be. And most of you would, who are young, wouldn't know that. Well, maybe you might know the Jetsons, but if you knew the Flintstones, and we don't even know if we know the Flintstones anymore, right? So yeah, the Jetsons. Okay, so the Flintstones were a Stone Age cartoon. The Jetsons was a spin-off and future cartoon. So in the '60s, a lot of you know, I guess the people, the status quo society of the '60s. Now, if you're alive, you probably know a bit about the '60s. Yeah, they saw the world in the future. George Jetson and his family, just same thing, nuclear family, right? Nuclear family. But in the year like now, 2020 or so, I never really knew the year of the Jetsons. That's interesting. I mean, that's probably one of those. Maybe we could look it up if we have the time and care. But it's supposed to be the future, and this is not what we are living in at all. It's just the design that's been upgraded to look futuristic and modern, but the engineering is still the same, and that we also see when people are talking about these big wigs, the know-it-alls, as they say, for the environment. They're like, oh, we're climate change. Someone mentioned acid rain. I don't even know if some of you were born in the '80s. We had this thing with acid rain, believe it or not. Acid rain, yeah, because apparently we had so much pollution, the rain in the sky was creating acid rain. And so that was probably even the last big fight from the boomers, even into my generation, because it was in the '80s. We had a big hole in the ozone and it had to be patched up. And yeah, I was in high school, and yeah, the result of that gave us acid rain. Long story short, from that and the Gaia movements and the what do you call, all the philanthropic movements, philanthropic, right? These movements created like the sort of George Soros type of PETAs and like Black Lives Matter. So anyway, that generation boomers, as I was just speaking about, that was the last time they actually, protested and put some action. So long story short, ozone was patched up. Apparently, it's open again. So today, since then, this whole thing about climate change and greenhouse and yeah, this leading up to today, which is this climate conglomerate disaster now in urgent need to bring down energy so we don't overheat the planet, right? Well, it might not be what it really is. So is that being exposed? Is that whole understanding of what on earth even this whole climate activism is really all about, right? So all of that to say, if we have to take into question who these folks are, what advantages will we have, what disadvantage, what is this, what is the whole goal of what's happening with the climate when The reality is we are the ones who are impacting the climate. Now, actually, I'll stand corrected. Those people who have all that money and control, are the ones who are uh, maybe dreaming up this whole thing of a climate urgency, emergency. And then that also leads off into other things, right? Because if that's the case, it seems to be extending a tentacle to medicine and pharmacology, I guess. All the whole uh, pharmaceutical industry, pharma. I'm just talking code because I don't want to give too many straight up words because it's going to get really crazy. You think censorship is something now when we had the pandemic. What's about to be exposed is going to be even nuttier. So, yeah, words like philanthropy and even climate, pharmaceutical, big pharma, all these things. These are trigger words. So I won't be using them much, but the idea, once again, is to understand the tentacles going out. As I was just mentioning, those tentacles coming from, let's say, even the climate people, and it's into the big pharma, it's into the medicine, it's into now also a tentacle. We know from the beginning, it's in the communications, right? It's in the propaganda, it's in the media, and it extends to the law. It's in our court systems. It's in our forces, right? Even now, into the military. So it's a whole full circle. The tentacles suckling onto the teats of these created industries and philosophies and sciences. So this stuff is getting blown completely out of the water. Not to say all medicine is bad medicine. All science is bad science. All law is corrupt. Uh, all media and information and methods of relating true news, right, it's not all fake news. So this is going to be a whole reconstruction against what I like to call the neutered world order. It's not new. It's just the same neutered. You look up the word neutered world order. That's upset and saying, well, we thought we knew everything and I guess we didn't. And that's what happens a lot. But the shame and guilt and then the spiritual penalty in the conscious, eventually it's like, well, self sabotage all the way, either way. Some won't redeem themselves. Anyway, that was just my good old rambling intro about where we are today. So, making money, right, that might just disappear overnight. Because once again, we see there is some manipulation of all of these tentacles I mentioned, and it's all getting the same big money, right? And that money is coming from that octopus. So my goal here, it's not I gotta make money because even I'm not trashing what this great tube is all about and all the other tubes and all the other social medias out there. Point I'm just trying to make is it's time for folks to really uh, have some discernment, filter. Yeah, you gotta size up what information you're getting, and even that could be in YouTube channels. There's a lot of great channels out there, but I do see, yeah, like, subscribe, share, love, subscribe, share, and that's great. I want you to do this for my channel if you could, but I'm not banking on say, trying to tell hard truths for the price, right? Of getting popular and making, like, hey, you can buy me coffee. I would love it, right? Every little bit helps. But while this technology is here, like I've said maybe 20 years ago when all of this was starting, when we used to call it VR, it was using the methods of VR with director and flash when we had to spend thousands of dollars to get a multimedia degree. But this is what we see today, right? With all our web pages like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And even back then, it was, most nerds out there were saying, well, it'll last, but it always will be about what you could do with it, how you could spin it. And then you had some folks who were able to take it and make it a big, another tentacle, another, so you have media. Now you have social, cyber media, AI, and all this stuff. So that's probably the biggest tentacle we're dealing with also right now, as they call it, technocracy, right? So that, there you go. That's along with religion, right? And all of this. So that's another tentacle right there. So yeah, I am a data jockey, streaming educational, factual, unadulterated lessons from world black history, finding solutions to surviving basic instructions before leaving the planted earth. Informational documentary streaming, historical educational media. And with that, once again, since I ain't no doctor, but I'm just going with what the creator flows through us, and I'm just relating the information. Fair Act disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. New Black Media, Stop the Black Genocide, Black Cot, Drop the Hop, World Black History, Literacy, Culture, Afro First Nations, hashtags. So let's get on with it. This is what the channel is about. And yeah, so like the transistor radio back in the day, folks would just sit around the side of a fire, whatever they call them, a fire camp or a fireplace. Not that anybody has that shit anyway, in homes, but they would just listen to the radio, and we lost that. We lost all that listening to the radio a long time ago, right? And so today it's very visual, and then not only just audible, but visual, and now the full senses is going actually so deep into your brain, trying to tap into your conscious or your consciousness, which we know it can be done, whether it be as a mass hypnotic effort. Let's move on. So, brought to you by one of my favorite sites to go to in social media, Getter. Thank you. Love you guys out there, and here's the thing. A lot of these newer, fresher sites, like I was able to take a look and, try it out. You got to try them out. And people say, oh, there's racist and right wing people and the Klan there and extreme this and extreme. It's like, you know what? No, 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 no. Actually, it's very refreshing to see maybe a cleaner slate as opposed to what we had with, the blue and white pages, right? You know what I'm talking about? Look at this. It's so nice. I love the color. I like the design, right? The design's pretty neat. People are way more okay and open-minded to discuss what they need to discuss, right? And tell us the news. Not like I follow everyone, you know, but hey, you're still a person. Let's hear what you got to say. Let's hear it from your point of view, your mouth, right? So yeah, Getter is really sweet for that. I really love Getter. So far, so good. I don't know. Once again, you have to be able to, filter and just kind of take a look. Okay, Dr. Malone is here. That's pretty sweet. See, I always follow him, right? I'm sure there's something to see because he's practically what? Is he banned everywhere else? So this is where he's at. I'm there too, right? Also, Mind. I find it to be one of the better, cooler sites. This is on a higher intellectual, and not to downgrade or say Getter's not intellectual. It's highly, just as you've got doctors there. But this is more as, the way I'm learning it, and seeing the type of articles and activism. It's more no nonsense, right? Less, less of the brightness, I guess, or maybe even loudness as maybe the others, right? Because of the personalities of people. So yeah, you'll tend to find, at least from what I've seen in minds, it's more, yeah, folks can think it through, and then have a discourse. This is what the kind of this is more discourse of a website, kind of like, let's say, if, like with the blue and white one, like uh, I could say Facebook, right? You can't really go out there and speak your mind. You can't put out the stories that you want and have like a real, like, if you want to go there, doctor conversation, right? Once again, without the pandemonium and all that. Look at this, right? Infowars is here too, right? But and Alex Jones, but believe it or not, hey, you know what? It shows that it's got some folks out here who can actually, um, or the so-called intellectuals can come out here and just take a look. But then again, it's early. Like I said, I'm trying this out, right? So like, yeah, and like this lady here, Tulsi Gabbard, right? Seems like she's making some type of proper discussion, right? And it's not like wow out there.
Is information, what is disinformation? We want to protect you from hate speech, and we will tell you what hate speech is, and we'll tell you if you are guilty of such so-called hate speech, and then we're going to come after you. Freedom of speech is critical. It is the foundation of our Constitution. And the only way we will protect our free speech is when every one of us stands up to protect it, whether it's against the government or big tech or any forces seeking to undermine that. Discern for ourselves, find the truth, use our voices, and stand up for those exercising their right to free speech, whether they agree or not.
So the word is discernment. Have discernment, and I find to see some discernment here in with this particular site. So yeah, Getter is where you want a little, little entertainment, more. It's got a sort of even a Twitter Telegramish vibe. It's very. I gotta follow this guy here. This guy's Awaken with JP. Yeah, following. Um, it's got some good methods of creating posts. It's way more artistic, you could see, and way more colorful. Um, Mine's is, yeah, newspaperish, more clinical. I think is the better word. Yes, clinical. I like it. Yeah, and it's boosted, and it's also there is incentive to make some change for coffee here. Also, they do have good groups, and yeah. So check out mines. Look at this new Omicron variants focus on the jabbed as the pandemic of injected cover up continues. The last American vagabond, right? So yeah, check it out. Gab is another interesting one I've been on. Also, Gab's a little bit more okay. If you're talking about the the more colorful, right, possible, maybe even uh, supremacy type of vibe, you might find that here on Gab. You might, but so far, I mean, once again, folks are I mean, it's good to know that. Well, I haven't seen folks go off their hook. Like how can I say? It's not like I'm seeing blood scripts or clan on these websites. And for me, if you're not seeing blood scripts or clans, or Nazis and shit, like, yeah, okay, I'm there. I think we can all agree, right? And that's the problem that we see right now before our very eyes. Going back to those tentacles, remember? So the media tentacle is saying, well, we think this way, right? And the health and the law and the, yeah, yeah, you know what I'm saying, the religion, right? So yeah, this is more, yeah, this is more the how would I compare this one? I'd say it's not that Facebooky as much. It's, I would call this one a little bit maybe more of a Twitterish, but it's actually, you know what? Gab is very unique altogether. That's why I can't really compare. Even Getter and Minds, they're all unique. I'm just kind of getting my mind used to, and like most of us should, weaning off the old school, right? So a lot of designs you can't really, I did mention it as comparable, but now you can see how bland the comparable is. You get it? When you think of it, you're being blocked. You're being throttled. You can't put this. You're fact check that. I ain't seen none of that bullshit in any of these sites, and I think that's so refreshing, right? Because yeah, I mean, and once again, it's not all perfect, far from it, but better to move on. And like I said, like the transistor radio, when the transistor radio was happening, that was crazy free speech, right? Because the airwaves, even though you had the antennas, right, anybody could have hacked that shit and gone, just like what we see today, how systems can be hacked. But the reason why that shit's happening is because we, us dumbasses who are so like softened up in the last 50 years, we give all the power to some jackasses, right? Who were born during the last 50 years, who were traumatized or whatnot. Yeah, I say the neutered world order. So yeah, but Gab, yeah, you're gonna, probably have more folks that'll be more in your face and, well, without being so brash as the whole white power and black power, but yeah, like, you'll find that I like this person here. Follow the white rabbit. Very cute, Uh, you're like, I'm thinking it's the same group that's attacking the food plants, engineered food and fuel shortages by the globalist cabal that wants to depopulate and reset the world. Thumbs up to me. Repost, right? You can't say or even type or think about typing that shit on FB, Twitter, and maybe on, even YouTube to a certain degree now, right? But they're tolerating because that whole thing with Odyssey, Rumble, right? BitChute, right? It's the same thing. BitChute, yeah, you probably like, you probably end up finding more hardcore uh, opinions, right? Like really, folks that are straight up, you know, yeah, right, white power, all that shit. But you know what? Put some balls on, man. Don't be such a puss about it, right? Just be, you don't have to be all civil rights on every fucking thing. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. Like I said, like, even, there's that whole joke I say that when people say, especially white people say, blacks could be racist too. I say, yeah. Before I used to say, no, we can't, right? Like, of course we can't. Not against white people. We don't have those powers to be. Even if you guys are disenfranchised just like us, if all of you got together and said, nah, we're not good with this shit and took it down, you would be far more better. But you've got even your own people who even have colored looking people denying you. So you guys got to snap out of that whole fucking, supremacy shit because it ain't working for you. You weren't included in that. You know, that's what it is. All you idiots out there, I'm sorry, but you got to be like, yeah, okay, you're down with Odin and you're down with all of that and, whatever. Grasp some reality. Get a DNA test, read some books, and then have an open mind. Like, I'm not afraid to read white supremacist shit. I grew up with them, because we're from the last half of a century. We grew up with mobsters' kids, bikers' kids. For some folks, uh, one condolences out to the ex Hell's Angel, well, not even ex, but the former Hell's Angels Capitan from Montreal, from my hood in Hochelaga. Shout out to the old school Maurice Montboucher had passed away this week, right? And this guy, now, that's a whole other, the whole gang thing. I've already posted on that. You can check it out on one of my dates. But there was some terror going on in Montreal before I came to Toronto. This is in the 90s. There was a biker war. See, a lot of folks like to talk about black gangs, all this shit, right? No, no, no. They can have no Negro gangs. You have to get in through them. But yeah, this guy kind of was running things, and yeah, there was a major war that was going on, like, shooting up people, and it wasn't black guys. Eventually, black guys got recruited, and then the white guys kind of faded out and, cut their hair. But yeah, this guy just passed away. So I'm bringing this up because, once again, even then, he ends up dying of cancer all alone in a jail. He got messed up. The people that maybe even they think is backing them, because yes, they are, right? From the top of the top, they got their hands in everything. Hey, there's another tentacle for you. Organized crime, blue collar crime, whatever crime you want to call it. But that's a sub of the law tentacle, right? So you got this business happening. So, huh, how do we manage? How do we manage, we say? Well, we'll work for the guys on the top. The guys on the top diss bikers. They diss, the capo. They diss guerrillas. They diss factions, militias. They diss all of that. They diss Girl Scouts, for fuck's sakes. You know. So when you're thinking, once again, the philo word, philanthropy, philanthropy, that word, we're gonna probably look up that word another day. But that philo word, right? That's running it all through. And you guys on the bottom, you're, as far as, and I could say it, you're all niggers. Even all you white folks that are like, nigger, we hate nigger, that we don't like. Yeah, you're a nigger too. You've been a nigger for like, God knows, since even after the 60s. You get it? You sold out like all of us, and you thought you could be more racist than us and put us in place. And look, the man on the top, Daddy Longlegs, whether sometimes he switches black, sometimes he switches white. Sometimes he switches Asian. Sometimes he switches East Asian. Sometimes he switches African. Sometimes he switches Italian. Sometimes he's tall. Sometimes he's short. Sometimes he's fat. Sometimes he's skinny. He does all of that. He morphs his ass like that, like a Terminator. 2, 3, and 4 in the matrix that we live in, burning all of us. Because at the top, 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 that well lit angel, which is, we say bad angel. That angel's probably one of the best angels, but taking advantage of us. I'm just going down that rabbit hole, right? So we're all niggers at the end of the day. And so when you can see in a page like BitChute, you will have folks that'll try to vocalize that ignorance, but it's still cool. So I'll go on BitChute. I'll share this on BitChute. I'll share also on Bantube, which is more pro melanated. Funny though, I haven't seen that many big ups or anything about it. And I guess that's what I like about Bantu, because, once again, it's a little bit more black in your face tube, which is sweet. But once again, like I always say, black people, we can never have nice things, right? We don't, I mean, I would say we'd be blowing that up, but then I would be afraid, because we probably really would blow it up, in the sense that it's not positive. We probably have twerking and all of that in no time. Anyway, so Yes, that's my whole, good point of the new social media review, right? Because it's different now. It's different times now. It's now 12:13 a.m. Thank you for tuning in on the date. And of course, at this time now, the 12th of July, 2022. So today is the July 7th month, 12th day, 2022, 12:13 a.m. Continuing right here, doing it old school style, literally. If I could play music, right, if we had the license to do that, hey, we'd call it a radio show, right? Just like the transistor days. So I'm just going to continue here. Bear with me. Thank you for tuning in. Like and share, and throw a shout out. Comments, go ahead. I mean, if I mean, and here's the thing with comments, and this is once again part of the whole tentacle thing, right? Public opinion, freedom of speech. It's okay to disagree, but even trolls, right? We're finding out more and more that, if you haven't been hearing, because of the whole Twitter situation, right, with Elon Musk, and now he wants to pull out, and they want to sue him, and all this stuff. It's quite interesting that what we're understanding is bots rule the techno world. What are bots? Bots have been these, I don't can't even say, like, in a simple way, layman's term, artificial accounts, people of, folks that don't exist per se. And this has been around for a long time. That's what started YouTube, let's say. And a lot of the social media sites in the beginning, if you were old enough to remember, in the early, because the dot com was of the 2000s, right? And that's when everything was building, and yeah, when a few people took the platform and moneyed it up. So YouTube, when it started, got moneyed up, right? But it was raw. It was like another site we used to call Hollywood.com. That's how deep. That's how I go back with YouTube. I know them. Shout out to all you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, it's me, Richard, back in the day from the clubs. But even then, as sweet as all of it, what it became, no one else was doing it, right? So the only competitor at that time, even to Facebook, was, some of you might recall, MySpace. Interestingly enough, MySpace is still around, I think. If you really want to log in, I understand. I checked, like, I think a decade ago, or even 5 years ago. No, it might have been a decade. And I was like, "Yeah, I still got an account there." So maybe that might happen. Oh, right? So when, all of that to say, this was the early 2000s. So what would happen is, even in email, when once again we're going back to subscription days, when you would get a newsletter, and it would bring you to a personal web page. When all of that was going down, right, you would get some incentives or invitations or and deals straight up to say, "Hey, we'll hook you up with, what is it?" I'm just going back in memory here of how it used to be. Um, if you pay, say, $50, you would automatically, and it still exists today, this whole thing, but this is what I'm getting to. Pay $50, you get automatically, not even subscriptions, but you would get bots that would generate followers for you. So yes, that still happens today, but what happened is, in the let's say the 2010s, the Obama years, right? A lot of shady stuff went on, right? When it came to the early technocracy, the early technocratic politics. I won't get into that right now. But those bots, since 2010s, have been, and even earlier, have been creating or spawning. So when we seen certain sites, and in the early days, even like of a lot of the, how we would say, video sites, and that's in general, because this way, you also had, is it, Vimo, if I'm correct. I never even go there, but you had all these other uh, makeshift tube sites. A lot of them didn't last, right? But a lot of them were starting once again with that whole, "Hey, psst, come over here. I'll give you if you got 30 bucks, I'll pay like 10 bucks a day. I'll give you 20,000. It was really funny like that, but it was legit. It was kind of a legit thing because those bots, at least to me, were kind of like even like Bitcoin today. It was like an investment. So you're instead of, let's say, just throwing out the ads, your ads were the bots, and those bots were actual like people. So all of that to say, to go back, what I like with a lot of the newer pages is it's bot free, so you might not have as many people befriending you or followers, right? Even though you do have a lot of genuine followers, you have to take into to question, how did we get to a point where, like, a beautiful station like YouTube, right? We have now, and even since the history of since I've known, like, it's amazing how many brilliant uh, uh, people of color that have channels out there that have liberal thoughts and ideas. That's great, but at the same time, I feel two things are happening. Definitely, it's turned into what that tentacle of what media is, right? The whole, introduction to Media 101. If you've ever been there, look up the. I even tell my readers, check out the media books, the origins of media and propaganda, right? But with that, in all, like, even now, I could say Tubish kind of, uh, it's like a, how we say, the corporate broadcasters, but on a whole cyber level, right? So if you have, it's like a CBS, NBC, and ABC, and PBS, and all of those stations, the powerhouses, but of the internet world, which makes it sweet. I'd say, I really love YouTube, but once again, who runs it from the top? Maybe YouTube is in that struggle, right? Because I'm sure YouTube wants to be around, but I've been hearing these rumors that, oh, YouTube is cutting down. Well, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe there are a lot of bots out there as subscribers and followers that may be kind of, you know, don't really um, set the purpose, right? Like status quo. So if we go back, let's say, to radio or television, when television started, right? You had those three power stations, and each of those would have, well, everyone would watch three, but the most powerful radio or television station would get the majority of views. Even though everyone was watching the other two channels, let's say one would get it, and that's the station of the year, and the money is made, and more productions and all this stuff. So now, tube stations, I say this in plural because once again, you have had others. What has happened is a lot of those subscribers, even like myself, right? I'm subscribed on a lot of those, but I'll always come back to birth mother YouTube, as far as I call her. She's the birth mother because I consider it trusted, tested, tried, and true. And yeah, it's very entertaining. It's very educational. The structure, the design, everything is sweet about it. The colors look nice, right? All of that. However, I'm getting the feeling there's probably going to be some changes because now it's going to be a question when all the shit comes down and everybody's like, well, this is the truth, this is the truth. And then maybe it comes around and people say, hey, you guys aided and abetted it, right? You guys that wouldn't be good. And I could see how lawsuits pop up and everything, right, for the folks who had been disenfranchised. But it's messy. It's a messy thing, right? Because I see a lot of tubers, like, you had some popular ones who were having tens, hundreds of thousands, and all of a sudden, one scandal breaks and they go independent. And next thing you know, there's all this crazy story about how they scamming people and I'm like, what? You got 300,000 subscribers. Why would you want to scam? And you're a Negro at the end of the day. You're black. Like, fuck. Why would you want to do, like, how? And it's not just one, right? Because you'll have another tuber who will cuss that one out, but that tuber, if you go back in that tuber's history, they did some funky shit too. right? And then you'll have another tube, and then it becomes a trend. Case in point, like Kevin Samuel. Kevin Samuel, when he came out, okay, first of all, he was known as a what do I call a personal, not personal designer, but fashion consultant. Okay, so what do fashion consultants do? They talk truth and about because if you want to look good, right? They're the ones who are creating your image. So he was a talking point, rest his soul per se, rest in power. He was still a talking point. He's still a talking point for some. His name pops up now in certain tubes referring to tropes that now, let's say tropes of one that I heard caused a lot of uh, response and also a lot of scorn was the thing, this whole thing of, well, being alone and dying alone, right? Because you didn't get a partner. So now there are actually tubes out there about, yeah, you see, like, was he right? And all this kind of nonsense. And people are like, of course, the opposition will say, well, um, they'll say the worst, right? They'll say, oh, he was horrible. He was this, even though he had the support of his audience. But now the politics that's being played, it's almost like it's so not. You know what? From what I recall with his station, it was money, cash up front. From what I, for the few times I did look at his channel, it wasn't like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share. He's just like, nigga, you gotta pay money if you want to go there. Boom. There are a few channels like that, and they'll ramble on 6 hours, and they'll be like, later. I don't give a fuck. So yeah, just breaking out some thoughts. Now 12:25 a.m. Today is the 12th of July 2022, and my yellow light from my Rogers cable is still flashing. I was last on at 4:30 in the morning. This was Friday morning. What date that was. And here I am today. Now it's 12:25 a.m. Today is now, what are we, Monday, Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. I gave it till Wednesday, to be honest with you. I said, hey, by Wednesday, we got to hear something. But I'll tell you more about that in a few seconds. So, yeah, these are my thoughts. So, yeah, you have some good video alternatives, but there are changes that are happening. And going back to those alternatives, you have Odyssey. So, Odyssey now is a channel that is alike the competitor, which is the YouTube and Vimo and all of that, and, those sites. And hey, over here, so far they're not being uh, as policed. Whoops, it's not being as policed as what we see with the tube and all the others, right? And it's not as filtered. Ugh, hold on a second here. It's not as filtered also, and that's a good thing, because if it was filtered, how on earth would we get some truth? So let me see here. I'm just having a little issue. Let me just put you on a quick hold because I just want to make sure I got this. Thank you once again. And yes, we're back. That was fast. I just needed to make sure we're in. But yes, here you have the date on Odyssey. So once again, Odyssey also, as what we're saying here with the competitor, which in this case would be uh, how we know as YouTube, is on, right? This competitor here, they're letting all kinds of stuff go off. Stuff that you will be automatically blocked for sharing, or and stuff that just you won't see on the everyday. So for myself, seeing that, it's gonna start picking up like wildfire, right? That's all I'm saying, right? Not corporations. And there's incentive, probably some of the best incentive I've seen to um, make some currency, whether it be in Bitcoin, or and also money, cash, money, right? And it's not, and yeah, you're gonna have right wing thoughts, but you're gonna the here's the thing with the right wing thought. This should have never happened, but it happened. Okay, so right, left, all of this, but it's basically people who I would say we used to call them hard knocks, right? We had a lot of so much. You have a class of folks that had got so educated in thought and ideas that anything outside of that bubble, of that cloud, is not even worth listening to, right? So it's kind of like, hey, can you build a chair? Well, folks on the right are more apt to say, yeah, we can build a chair. Just chop some wood and get some nails and a hammer, and we can draw it out. Left seems to be more like, well, we can think about it. Well, how about we draw it, which would probably make a very lovely chair drawn. But you know what? Even to make it, we probably might need what we call an instruction manual that we can get online and print it. Hey, tell you what, we could get a 3D printer and maybe just do it, right? And not worry that it's going to take carbon emissions. You know what I'm saying? So this is what's happening, right? And you can see more straight up hard knocks opinions on a site like this, like Odyssey, right? And it's not so far. I haven't seen any how we say extreme like right thoughts on this forum, even on interestingly enough, tend to see a little bit more like real, even with the folks that are, let's say, following and followers and subscribers. You see a lot of, or hear about a lot of harsh opinions. There's some folks out there that are just like straight up racist, dumb, troll once again. And a troll is like a bot, right? That's part of the bot. Trolls are from the bot family. That's why like when folks say, "Oh, the troll in the basement," you know what? There is no troll in the basement. It's a bot, and they can have real names appear. And another way you find them is also when they have these weird, like, okay, one site I did go check out recently. I haven't been checking out in a while, and this is a let's say a black website that is not like black, but pro all that bullshit, right? Straight up pro all that bullshit. And I probably saw and figured out, along with bots, there are such a thing as agents. So many freaking, like, I know there are people who are not maybe astute enough to figure out that, okay, so you've got this sister, right? And she's black. And she's got this whole, yeah, kill them crackers. I can't stand them. And this person has a job, right? They're saying, I hate when crackers come in my job, right? And the person's white last name is like white. That's the last name, right? Like a common, like a Billie G. King, right? Or uh, Amanda Caucasian, straight up. And you would look at these comments, and even then, if another brother came in or anybody with an opinion that wasn't way over the right thought, oh gosh. And another sister would jump in, ah, this boy's like half mixed, half coffee, half that. I'm like, wow. And then I had, great dialogue, because I don't usually get into, like, once again, the comments thing, right? Because comments can be productive. I'm just here to put the information out. You can look it up and you can say, yeah, you can shout out and say, yeah, this is very interesting. I learned something, or what can I get? Some people say, well, I didn't learn anything, and that's what I was seeing from those folks on that type of web page, right? And I would share a post on how a white supremacist redeemed themselves and found God, right, after a near life death experience. I would say that's pretty. Yeah, let's see what's that about. Oh well, I didn't hear about how he got in the flames. I didn't hear about what he paid, and I was like, wow. So that kind of energy on a web page is looking to generate folks that think like that. And thus, that's where you can have the people say, oh, look, a black extremist. You dig? So I don't check that site no more, right? Because I was like, oh, I'll give it a chance. Let's see what we can put together. Minute we have a sort of a black page website type of thing, it's already fucking hijacked by folks who are like agents, because we know agents love that bullshit. They love to, integrate themselves and, infiltrate and, yeah, I'm black, bro. Yeah. So that happened, right? So you have that with what we call trolls, right? So agents, trolls, which come from the family of bots. So that's what it takes. And it's hard to find, well, not hard. You just have to really, once again, you have to have discernment as to what sites, where you go to get, and even newsletters to get your information. Because sometimes, just like what we see with a lot of the star sites, it's like Hollywood, right? They got drama, they got controversy, they got trends. And it's like after a while, if you pull out the lens a bit, you'll see that you're not getting the most accurate or the most sincere, right, information, prioritized, right, not corporations. So yeah, check out Odyssey if you want. And like this whole business, like with, you can't get news in other parts of the world, like really, right? Why does it have to be like that? Can't people think enough for themselves? Well, I guess not. That's the whole point. So this is the war we find ourselves in, and let's carry on. So yeah, check out other sites. So this is my pitch, brought to you by these guys, right? So Odyssey, Gab, and right now one of my favorites, Getter. Getter is awesome. I love Getter. I love it. I love it. And people, come on, and yeah. And the way I like to say it is, yeah, come on, my white supremacists, my Klansmen, my former neo Nazis, my former OG niggas, my gangsters. I know a lot of you were hurt, right? And you want to break out of that shit, right? You want to know, like, it shouldn't have to be like that. So, once again, my post is about, I don't know, maybe helping you wake the fuck up, because I was asleep too. I'm still kind of drowsy, but look, if you making a half century and you happen to be a black or and white man or woman or whatnot, and you see what the fuck is going on, Bombaras. Come on, man. We were the children who were supposed to be the integrated, whatever, all of that chinmajig that Dr. Dead King spoke about, right? And look, we're all messed up. We're so messed up, but tell you what, our kids and grandkids are more messed up, and our freaking parents and grandparents are messed up. So we have a chance to save the world. And this is what I find in a site like Getter. I find these folks out here, these people. Look at that. I like this guy. I'm cool with him. I'm cool with Trump, and you know why? I'm going to tell you quickly, and then we'll move on. Um, while I didn't like his affiliation with, let's say, the no, I wouldn't even say neo-Nazi as much, but Klansmen, because it's two different things. They're not all the fucking same. Colonialism, neo-Nazism, right-wingism, right? They're all not the same. Klansmanism, it's not, like, they're all the same kind of ideology, but they all work separate. I wasn't down with the whole, with Donald, with D, as I call him, because I said, yeah, you were good for the job. You're the man. You got the balls. But now I know, like those libs, yo, they really probably did more sabotaging shit as I learned more, and through what I suffer day by day more and more as I'm old enough to say, oh, wow, yo, I got to take this shit back to Dick Nixon, Tricky Dick, right? I got to remember 1974. Somebody, boomers, telling me, yeah, it's just like today is just like the embargo, the oil embargo of the 70s. I was like, yeah, we were kids then, we are children then. So wait a minute, they doing that shit? They're still doing that shit? They're playing it by the book again. So when D came on, and then fuck, he had all these fucking, like, oh, I was like, nah, man, I tolerated Ben, okay, for what that was worth. But then, what's his name? Kush? Nah, I'm not too sure about Kush. The daughter was she's smart, and then you had the other one there, the one who's like part ball. I can't even remember his name, right? That guy who looked like Goebbels. Funny enough, they always have the same kind of look, right? Like that. What's his name? Urel guy. They all look that ballish thing going on. Not to discriminate, but hey, you guys come out with the same kind of energy, right? But yeah, yeah. What's his name? Is it, he's got that name that yeah you can. But I don't want to think about them right now. But when D was running with that crew, I was like, no, come on, man. You serious? You down with a guy who choked out a Negro in the street, whether it's a psyop or not, right? It's still a psyop. It's still psychic freaking you, messing up your mind. You still good with that, sir? As for the whatever, Patriot Boys, Proud Boys, stand by, stand down, that was stupid. He could probably admit that, right? Because he could say, yeah, well, maybe it wasn't the brightest, but then the libs took it and fucking there on the inside, that's not what they're telling you. So yeah, anyway, yeah, but I've learned a lot. So in my humility to a certain degree, and I think a lot of people, yeah, he, bring him back, right? Because people are gonna say, oh no, because we wanted like, yeah, you know what? We did it. We did it for 8 years with the bro, which is an anomaly that at least in our contemporary time, needed to happen. Okay, I can't say it was all terrible, but it's off the chain now. And now that we see there's a bigger, longer story, at the end of the day, we're talking about, well, is it really about God versus Satan, right? Because that's what a lot of the messages coming out about, let's say, with this current administration and the future of even that administration. See what I'm saying? So I would have said, yeah, I was down with Uncle Joe. Yeah, Uncle Joe, because he reminded me of his like Gonzo, bedtime for Gonzo and Ronald Reagan, right? In this case, it was Obama. So thinking that the liberal way was, hey, you know what? We really do care about black people. We really do care about white people who are both poor, who are both disenfranchised, right? No, we don't care about them, especially if you're male. No, we don't want to care about you either. And so that's what's going down. And thus we have what's it called? The neutered world order. So that neutered world order, and once again, there's tentacles across everywhere, even on D's side, but it's to get away from suckling that teat. And right now, I'm saying the right or the Republican or the conservative side, it's hard knocks, it's old school, it's true, tried and tested. Not perfect, yes, not, but nothing is. But still, the basics of bread, butter, and God for a lot means something, as opposed to what the liberal left is saying, well, fuck, anything goes, including children, which is a big sore point for a lot of folks, including myself, right? There's no reason why a child should be neutered, world ordered, before they even get a chance to breathe. Think about that. And even then, folks saying whether that choice of any child to be, to have breath should be taken out the window. Now here's like that whole abortion thing, right? I just say, not just say abortion, like that whole thing. At the end of the day, like I was saying, put a fucking condom on. When I was like say a kid 30 years ago, even up to 20 years, AIDS was still AIDS was never cured. So even when folks were starting, pornography even had to, make rules to have their stars use condoms. Now, when did that happen? I blame that. Yeah, once again, go back to uh, blame it on the alcohol and not, the culture, especially the culture of what we fell into, that I call engineering of what became this hip hopish thing, right? That cult, right? No more using rubbers. So right out the bat, and the women, well, yeah, women gotta be able to take big responsibility. Because if you can, if I mean, I'm just, once again, I'm not a doctor here, psychologist. I'm just, if you can take the seed and you choose to take that seed deliberately, I mean, it's one or two things. Either you're, and I'm not talking about the folks who are abused and all of that, but even that, we got to think in stats here. If this is factual, that this is why this is happening, let's say like um, incest, rape, all of that. Well, what the fuck was happening like maybe even 50 years ago, right? I mean, today we make it seem like it's an urgent thing. Why is it so freaking urgent? And why has it happened more than what it was initially intended for? I grew up in Montreal, that's Dr. Morgan Tyler's spot, right? And when you were dating girls, if that did happen, girls back then, well, they had the pill. And while we see now the pill wasn't good, because once again, they get involved into our genitals, right? Condoms was needed. But now today, I don't understand it. Don't people know that spermatozoid and can lit, that's what it does. So if you're doing it by conscious to do that because of a feeling for a minute, and you can't even take even the day after freaking medication, which exists if you want to have doubt to reason and take a sick pill, right? I mean, these are situations. Heck, I had there was one situation where, back in the day, I remember I dated a girl, and it was that was that scare. But right off the, like, we weren't together per se, right? And this is the '90s, and right off the bat, it was like I knew. I said, well, make sure, because things broke, and it was, and just the precaution was, I believe it was 48 hours. You had, you take this thing, this pill thing, 48 hours, and okay, you'll feel discomfort, but if that is so, and if you want to talk in the context of taking the responsibility, and, well, if we're going to talk about contraception and the feeling of pain and the heart, hey, maybe that might be the best route. But all of that is, and once again, the oldest one is rhythm, which is according to, once again, the cycle. Like, you gotta, like, what the hell's going on? How is it women are not even checking their cycle anymore? I mean, there used to be a time, just like when we used to see Tampax commercials, which you don't see anymore. I don't know if you guys know that, eh? You don't see any more tampon commercials in no, that's gone. That disappeared. What, you didn't know? I thought you knew. I thought you knew. No, no more. You don't see them. Well, you see maybe one or two, but that's if there's any still left in the stores. But I digress. But of course, all of that saying, once again, we're in a neutered world order, and so you've just got to be aware. At least that you can't. You have a right to live just like anyone else. At the end of the day, and those folks out there who are upset and jealous and angry at God for putting them and never found a way to resolve, well, let God deal with that. So yeah, so this is what's going on, So you have these leaders. So the current leader is good with all of that, right? Uncle Joe is good with that, and the civil rights prejudice and the, the racism and genocidal ideology that's actually uh, it's rife, and it's very sublime. So it's more sinister than even what the right wings were. Heck, if the Klan didn't like you and they want to throw a fight on, you know what? At some point, if it's gonna be a throwdown, throw it down. Done. That's it. What are you gonna do? But what these guys are doing, they're killing you softly, right? With a smile. And it's so seething toxic fumes, right? It's seething in a quiet cellar, like deep down in the gutter. right? And they say, hey, we're okay, it's normal. Our belief is, you're here in the flesh, you're here in the mind, and once you're done in this world, that's it, it's over. Nothing else, nothing else. That's what they're about. So whatever you do now, as above, so below, whatever. So, yeah, all of that ramble to just let you know where. And of course, once again, when I do this post, thank you for liking and subscribing. And if you want to give me coffee, go ahead. No stress. I know there's some nuggets of truth you can pick out of this because we need that, right? And I'm the bro. I'm that black guy who can talk. I don't have to talk in ebonics and all. Yeah, we have normal Gen Xers, middle aged folks who are like keeping it real despite the immaturity that we see with a nation, right? Because it's always like, I learned something magical the other day in Toronto. I wasn't living in Toronto in the 80s. I'm from Montreal. I didn't know. A white woman told me, a boomer, very, and of course, elderly white women are just like black men. We're going through the same struggle, you know? I'm not talking Karens here. That's another ballgame. But you have those like, we got to find out a good term for them. And white guys, right? They're like I said, it's not what they try to make you believe it. But anyway, she was telling me, she's like in the 80s when she was part of the educational system as a teacher. She opposed that there was supposed to be patois. If I'm correct, it was like teaching patois or allowing. Yeah, wait, hold on, give me a sec. I just want to make sure I get it right. Yeah, allowing patois to be taught in the schools in the 70s, I believe. And I was like, what? I never heard any. I knew in Montreal that shit wasn't going to fly. You had either, if you're going to learn anything, you learn in English or French. If anything, you learn in French before English, actually. It's not correct. Yeah, you learn in anything, it's French. That's what, but you, as an Anglophone, you can survive in Montreal. That's what it was. So I was kind of baffled. I was like, how did that happen? And why did that happen? And then, of course, the 70s was multicultural, all that, what we know today, as good as it was then, right? And we know now it's kind of out the window. It was introduced. So I figured, oh, no wonder the vernacular of a lot of Afro Canadians. To me, I was like, how come we're so like the vernacular, like even how I speak, there are folks like, yeah, we're probably majority. I'm just, but kids are kids, and the generate like even when I was that, kid in those years, like the early days of hip hop, uh, the vernacular of that time, the ebonics that came with it, once again, that was a code. You could switch it on, you could switch it off. When you go for a job, you switch that shit off, right? But apparently, yeah, this was happening in Ottawa, and that's why when I guess as I seen, like now, well, it's okay, but even Jamaicans will tell you, not a lot of them were not down with many were not down because they're like, well, it's broken English vernacular anyway. You want to get educated to learn the good stuff. And yeah, we can debate all of the European white man thing. Nah, the real world is if you want to get a good job, let's say you want to be a lawyer, you ain't gonna bust patois and judge, yeah man, yeah, babalan, you're guilty. Nah, bro, that's not real. But this is how like hideous it is, right? So the school board of the time thought, yeah, instead of teaching them the Queen's English, which was like how you were going to get a job working for the bank or anything, let them learn their patois and soak it up so that way we can deny them because they think we like them so much and we're so down with you, we're going to give you a job speaking patois. You could take that right back to Jamaica or you can open a patty store. Boom, right? So that's how, once again, that's a rabbit hole one, right? It says a lot because now if you see, any generation of folks that are here and we understand that, well, a great country like Canada is open to cultures. There's still, once again, codes. It's codes, codes of codes of the conduct, right? Free speech, but you got to have some decorum, some conduct, maybe class, if you want to call it. Right. So these are the great places where you want to come by these websites here and check it out, right? And see what time it is, right? Just having a sip of coffee here, hot black coffee. I'm not here to sip tea, right? So this is what's going on. Let's see here. Let me just cue it back.
Are various anti-drug groups in certain cities, but they operate autonomously. It's a movement of extreme anarchists and communists. It creates a breakdown in society when you normalize.
So I don't know. It's all the same shit, right? Communism,
All of this is
fascism,
like efforts.
fascism, Nazism, communism, ism. But hey, this is one point of view, and that's fine, right? Epoch TV, brilliant. You can check it out also. One of the best. So yeah, that's me sipping the coffee on a lot of the new media out there, right? Because we do have the power to make a difference. And yeah, if you learn patois, well, yeah, see if it could you could use it if you go to Europe and Italy and see how that works out, right? If you have a opportunity to hmm, work in Ukraine, yeah, take the patois, see if they like you there. But that's how deep it goes between left and right, because in those years it was a liberal government that made that happen, right? Okay, so let's get ready to go on with the show here. You know why I'm kind of like sharing while doing this post on Getter, and that's only because I like Getter. I really do. Like the stories are so like my eyes are fixated on Getter. Look. Hunter Biden could be charged with federal prostitution offenses after it emerged he may have transported three sex workers. Listen, okay, this nigger over here. See what I'm saying? How white people can be niggers? He is a total. He's not just a nigga. He's a nigger with a hard R. This guy had a video of him what chopping crack. Now this is weird. This is where I can think it's one of two things. I'm almost starting to maybe not even believe that whole crack thing. I'm starting to think there's some weirdness to it because first of all, how the fuck do you accept? How does society like really black or white? It can't be just race. How the fuck does society accept any person fucking blowing up crack like it's okay? We had a mayor here in Toronto. That was Rob Ford, if I'm correct. I always mix up the brothers, right? Doug, it's Doug now. Yeah, and this guy, he got busted. Hear this, chilling with a Somalian brother who recorded him smoking the crack going off. Right there, you go. That what right there. That's your integration of immigration, right? You see it? So this guy, he was doing that. He was tooting his, taking his stones, knocking out some hits, and the Somalian gangster guy filmed it. Next thing you know, the gangster guy he gets shanked. He's still around, but he got shanked. He got totally dissed. Ended up in jail, and the late mayor uh, passed away with what we discovered was a cancer, right? And in hindsight, folks were saying, well, maybe that's why he was smoking the crack because he was in pain. And, but I mean, even then, folks were saying that was a circus. And here we are today. Okay. Long story short. How is it you can let this nigga over here, not the old man, he's the original OG. How can you let this guy, his son, okay, the president of the free world. His son is okay. We're not, and this is the thing. People are gonna say, "Well, you can't judge him because even other presidents, like what's her name, was an alcoholic. Betty Ford was an alcoholic, and Nancy Reagan with her thin self. All of this business, right? But come on, this dude we hear has business. How is he even allowed to have a business? And being a known, like get some help or something. Nah, man. This shit, and it's like he did crack yesterday, and he's and he's like, come on, I don't know. And now I'm not saying that the Trump and the right side is better. Oh, for sure, no, it's not better. But this is where you have to have the discernment. I mean, he's not. I'm not saying it's better, but you gotta have the discernment. One grabs somebody by the pussy, and this one grabs, as far as we're hearing, right? The one grabs grown, as we hear, maybe younger. They're both into the same thing. Which one is worse? Is it the one that got it on with apparently his daughter with a what, a fucking diary that just came out? This is the president. Imagine if you were like Abraham Lincoln, right? Oh yeah, he used to bugger his son. Like what? What? Even Clinton, for like anybody. How is, like, what, this guy, and we're like no discernment, right? Someone could say, well, it's just a how they love to say, oh, it's just how we say, a scam, or what do you call, a fake news. But if it is, even, which possibly could be, right? Especially, like, how is it even that, like, fuck, he was looking in the camera, for God's sakes. Hunter was looking in the camera, and then he turned the freaking camera on the crack. Like, give me a fucking break. Come on, that's all I'm saying. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? Like, even if some people are crackheads, that wouldn't that shit trigger fucking people? The president's son running around fucking showing, yeah, I gotta look at a. Anybody see that? Hey, I want crack too. Triggering a fucking nation. Meanwhile, this party giving out crack pipe. Anyway, whew. So yeah, discernment. You pick and choose how you want your future, even though we don't even know if you all you Americans out there, you better watch out. You might not even get the next the way things are going. Don't be surprised if you don't have an election. I don't know, because things are so volatile now. One of the things in my post is I don't want to be too much on the doom and gloomish. I'm just here to put out some information, read some of the news to you, right, and give some thoughts, right. But one of the thing is, like I said, with discernment, we also have to watch, um, that we're not being bamboozled in such a despicable way, because we're being insulted every day by having these folks tell us, hey, this is how things should be and it should go like that. We don't have any fight. And that's, once again, that's what at least Generation X can try with the new young generation. I don't say all young people are in despair, but there's a good percentage, because that's the majority, right? Boomers are on the way out, and millennials are here for now, but maybe it's going to be the Gen Xers who are in between, the ones who are like, well, fuck, we've seen that, and now we're seeing this, and we can kind of almost get an idea, an educated guess of where this is going to end up. So maybe best to hunker down and have some discourse, and discuss this, think this through, instead of talking about fucking twerking politician, which is supposed to be even on his party. That black woman, I don't even know her name. I saw a picture with her twerking up her. I'm like, what? Like, come on. No, no, no. I'm sorry. You guys are way over your top. All right, twerking senators, and hey, you know what? If you want to wear a dress and have a mustache and a beard, that's fine. But you know what? I don't have to fucking accept. That's just the facts of it. Just like you can, some of you folks out there who do have beards, privilege, and you got dresses and million. You know what? You guys can be the most mother freaking racist people I've ever met. Bigoted too, sexist too, genderist too. Oh, but he's a genius. He's a genius. What? A blood clot? What? He's solving the world economy? No. You know many other genius you can have who maybe, I don't know, maybe like to dress up as Batman. You're gonna let them come in the fucking office, dress up as Batman, and, like, you know, because that's what it's gonna boil down to. I already hear that people calling themselves birds and animals. They say I'm a cat, I'm a bird. Okay, I'm just putting that out there, right? So yeah, let me get off together here and let's get on to the whole idea of what this show is about. We'll be right back. Thank you once again for subscribing, like and share. And once again, you're not obliged to. I just want, even if a thumbs up helps me at least say like, well, something's getting out there. And I'm not fooled. I know the beautiful site, such like YouTube, will probably throttle. This probably wouldn't be out there. This probably won't be shared. All kinds of stuff, right? Because that's what it is. But it's not going to be like that forever. Because that's, as I was saying in the beginning, I've been around long enough to see how things come and go. Trends, trends are blown up and they fade out, right? So while you will go on a website, great site like YouTube, like I say, and there's going to be changes, and maybe there's even some type of internal change and coming around. What you're seeing today might not always be, the type of energy you need. And I could break it down even for the, for, melanated black people, Negroes, right? Once again, we probably big time bamboozle because we're the biggest uh, shareholders. We're the biggest shareholders of the commodity, right? Of this technology. If you look at the website, and once again, I shout out to all of the brilliant people out there, but start to have discernment. Because that discernment, if you don't have it, you'll get distracted on the wrong thing. And that's why, hey, it's been what already? What, a month, 2 months within all these shootings you have? You haven't heard anything recently, right? The internet's blacked out. Stonehenge was not Stonehenge, but the Georgia Guidestones was blown up. Sensido Abe, Japanese ex-prime minister, right? That Negro was knocked out. Was it, whether it's true or not? It was it a psyop? The way he just went down and the way it looked like it was like what are they named there? I want to give a good like Jack Ruby. You remember Jack Ruby? You probably don't. Look it up. When he shot that Negro in the back, the guy who apparently popped Kennedy, Oswald, right? Just like that, just out of the blue, pop, and you saw the smoke, and then it was a small pim, and then bam, the second one, he grabs his neck. We caught all that shit on camera, and he done like today. They just drove him away, and nobody talking like what? Usually they throw a big fucking, like salute and all. Like wow, it says a lot. And that's also not mentioning in the news that um, a lot of the Netherlands, I understand, Dutch farmers are, major thing. They're causing, they're blowing up Bill Gates' factory, all kind of thing going on. But a lot of the my nation, will gather around something about a football or something about music, rap, trap, trip, drip, drill, another brother shooting another brother, a brother not down with his woman because he's just too, how we say, metrosexual, mansexual, whatever you want to call it, sensitive, sexual, and the black woman, well, she's just too strong and angry and don't want no man, and she's big, she's this, but she thinks she's all that, and she has a right to get all of that, and all this nonsense that most nations in the world would never, even in their best days, even if they go on a party for one day and everybody's like, yeah, let's party. Like Brazil, they don't, like Brazil has one of the biggest freaking parades, like Mardi Gras, you know? Even like in New Orleans, which could be pretty seedy. Community outside of that, our community are the ones who every day twerk, baby mama, uh, Ray Ray, Pookie, uh, Gangsta, OG, right? Now, today, Lady Boy, right? We have a lot of, this is what it is because a lot of us bought into the um, neutered world order, which makes me think, I was reading an article recently, once again, trans women. of color, black trans women particularly, have a high murder rate. And I was asking myself today, I was like, so what about black women? Because one or two things is my takeaway. If black women are also in that stat, right? Because it's about women, but they're saying trans women somehow are way up there, and we have to stop that. What about those other black women that actually, well, bared babies, maybe even bared that child who became a trans woman? What about them? Because once again, this is why you have to have discernment. If everything that we see is a psyop on the mainstream and even the pseudo mainstream cyber social media, it's food, definitely food for thought, right? So all of these things are happening so fast, and once again we get distracted. Now, of course, for me, the fourth day, there's no Rogers Wi-Fi internet. There's a major situation where I say it's been, the company's been held under siege. Speculations, I'm just going to throw it out there, could have been because of, involvement in Ukraine and Russia. It could have been hacked by, enemies of our state, right? Whether it be not even just only Russia, probably China, could be any, could be internal, right? But whatever news we're getting, you're not able to get it on real time unless you have a transistor radio, right? So once again, if we're talking about these black transgender women that are getting killed out there, and I think it's terrible, it's horrible, right? What are the situations that are making that happen? Is it a situation where what? They're going on dates? What? Are they walking in the street? And serious questions. Were they working as sex workers? Which, hey, no problem. But what's happening? And how is it that we have so many black trans men and black trans women out there? How is that? Considering that the majority of us came from our grandparents. Something is amiss. Because once again, if that is the case, then we'd probably have less black women altogether because they're also fall in, of course, unfortunately, the statistics for abuse and crimes. And no, not all of them are black men that are doing this because the media will spin the narrative that, well, the black trans woman is probably getting killed by black male, period. The black women are probably getting killed by black men, period. Now, that's what's very dangerous. And of course, it's a lie. So, discernment. I would like to revisit that and we'll bring it back on another post another time. But, it's definitely something to think about considering that there are mass shootings, there are even hangings, which we used to call lynchings, but whatever. They're still hanging. There are still people running for their lives, apparently getting shot, for simple parking violations, all kinds of craziness. Now, I'm not saying this just to give you a doom and gloom. I'm just putting that out there that, hey, you know what? It's time to buckle up, balls up, tits up, and whoever's still around coming from the school of hard knocks, it's time for us to get together and, find a solution, right? And have some backbone because, once again, my point is even if black trans women are being murdered and at such a high rate, I know it can't be that the bros doing that. It's got to be something out of that. And there's got to be something out of that there's so many in such a situation with the big picture, right? And that's, of course, the sex tentacle, which goes with the gender tentacle. So we're going to take a little break. It is now 1:13 a.m. Today is the 12th of July, 2022. I still don't have any internet. It's still a white flash. Shout out at least to Fido. I'm running whatever tethering I'm doing here, but I wanted to bring this out tonight. It might be a little lengthy, but hopefully not. I want to cover these things because, you never know what the next day brings, right? I mean, this is just an example of things to come. So I'll be right back and we'll get on with our news. Thank you very much once again for checking out the date. Like, subscribe, and share. I'll be right back.